Let me start with a number that's going to blow your mind. 444 square kilometers. That's the entire size of Curaçao, a tiny Caribbean island off the coast of Venezuela, with a population smaller than most American suburbs. A Dutch island nation off the coast of Venezuela. Yahoo Sports. And on Sunday night in Houston, this tiny island walked into a stadium to face the four-time world champions of football, Germany, a nation that has won everything there is to win in this sport. What happened next was both a massacre and a miracle, a 7-1 demolition that rewrote the history books in a way nobody saw coming. And buried inside that scoreline is a story so wild, so improbable, but you're going to want to hear every single detail. Because this wasn't just a big team beating a small team. This was the night Germany did something that not even Brazil, not even the greatest footballing nation in World Cup history, had ever managed to stay ahead of. And it was also the night the smallest nation at this entire tournament wrote their name into football immortality forever. So lock in. This is the full story of Germany 7-1 Curaçao, and trust me, the scoreline is the least interesting part. The record nobody was talking about. Let's get straight to the headline, because this is the part that makes this game historic and not just lopsided. Germany are now the all-time top scorers at the FIFA World Cup, with their 7 goals showing here taking them past Brazil in the goal charts. Germany now stand at 239 goals, surpassing Brazil's 238 goals by 1. Wikipedia, Yahoo Sports. Think about what that means. For decades, Brazil sat at the top of the all-time World Cup scoring charts. The Samba Kings, the 5-time champions, the nation that gave us Pelé, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and 100 other magicians. They were the benchmark, the gold standard. And in one Sunday afternoon in Houston, Germany quietly stepped past them by a single goal, 239-238. But here's the part that makes it absolutely delicious. While Germany was busy hammering 7 goals and breaking Brazil's record, what was Brazil doing at this very same tournament? Brazil drew 1-1 to Morocco, a game wherein Morocco was clearly the better side. Yahoo Sports. Read that again. On the same weekend that Germany overtook Brazil's most prestigious World Cup record, the actual Brazil team was busy getting outplayed by Morocco and dropping points. The footballing universe has a sense of humor, and on this weekend, it was pointing and laughing directly at Brazil. The 6-minute warning. Now let's get into the match itself, because the way it started told you everything about how it was going to end. And then, briefly, it told you the complete opposite. The 4-time world champions made an ominous start, taking the lead after Felix Nmecha combined with Florian Wirtz and steered a superb first-time finish into the far corner. Felix Nmecha got the scoring started after just 6 minutes, playing a lovely 1-2 with Florian Wirtz before bending his shot around his marker and just inside the right-hand post. Not just okay Wikipedia. 6 minutes. That's all it took for Germany to draw first blood. And it was a beautiful goal, the kind of slick, one-touch combination play that makes you think the floodgates are about to open and this could end up being double digits. Everyone watching had the same thought. Here we go. This is going to be a bloodbath. Curaçao, the tiny debutants, are about to get embarrassed on the biggest stage in world football. And then, the island struck back. The goal that stopped the world. This is the moment. This is the part of the story that gives me chills, and by the end of it, it might give you chills too. Curaçao flipped the script in the 21st minute. Livano Comenencia's defense-splitting pass was blocked, and he ran onto the loose ball with his shot deflecting past Manuel Neuer, securing his place in the history books. Wikipedia. Let me paint the full picture for you. Curaçao, a nation playing in its first ever World Cup, a country so small that most people couldn't find it on a map, just scored against Germany. Against Manuel Neuer, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, in a World Cup, to make it 1-1. Livano Comenencia had the blue wave rocking when he briefly had the score 1-1 with Curaçao's first World Cup goal. Flash score. And the man who scored it? The 22-year-old right-back turned midfielder scored Curaçao's first ever World Cup goal, capitalizing on a complacent, sloppy German defense. Olympics. For a few precious minutes, the impossible was real. The smallest nation at the tournament was level with the giants of Germany. Somewhere on that island, thousands of people were losing their minds. This was their moon landing. This was their entire footballing history compressed into one moment. One of the Curaçao players said it perfectly afterward. Even though it wasn't me, it felt like it was me. It was all of us, the whole island, everybody. CBC, the whole island. That's what that goal meant. It didn't matter that it would ultimately be a footnote in a 7-1 defeat. For Curaçao, that goal was everything. It was proof that they belonged, that they were here, that a nation of just over 150,000 people could score at a World Cup against one of the greatest teams on earth. While Comenencia's goal proved to be inconsequential, the joy he brought to thousands of Curaçao supporters was certainly not. Olympics. That, right there, is the magic of the World Cup. That's why we watch. And it's why, even in a 7-1 hammering, Curaçao walked away with something money can't buy. Germany wakes up angry. But here's the thing about poking a sleeping giant. It wakes up. And it wakes up furious. Curaçao's equalizer didn't inspire a famous upset. It did the opposite. It flipped a switch inside the German team, and what followed was a clinical, ruthless, almost surgical destruction. Despite some warning lights after Curaçao's 21st-minute equalizer, Germany steadied course and avoided implosion, replying with 6 unanswered goals to keep their World Cup mission on track. 6 unanswered goals. Let me walk you through the carnage. Germany goals came from Nmecha in the 6th, Schlotterbeck in the 38th, Havertz with a penalty in first-half stoppage time, Musiala in the 47th, Brown in the 68th, Undav in the 78th, and Havertz again in the 88th. Not just okay. First, defender Nico Schlotterbeck restored the lead before half-time. Then came the dagger right before the break. Havertz connected on a penalty shot in first-half stoppage time to make it 3-1. Germany was awarded the penalty shot after Felix Nmecha was tripped in the box by Richedly Bazur. CBC. Going into half-time down 3-1 instead of 2-1 is psychologically devastating for a team like Curaçao. That stoppage time penalty didn't just add a goal, it crushed the belief that had been building since their equalizer. And then Germany came out after the break and ended the contest within 2 minutes. Germany wasted no time after half-time to extend the lead, with Jamal Musiala scoring on a right-footed shot across the goalkeeper's area in the 47th minute. CBC. 4-1, game over. And Germany was just getting warmed up. The kid who announced himself. Now, I want to pause on one player, because in the middle of this demolition, a new German star was being born, and you need to know his name. Nathaniel Brown. World. Meet Nathaniel Brown. There was a time where Germany's left-back position was hotly contested. David Raum and Maximilian Mittelstädt often traded places under Nagelsmann, but both failed to lock down the position. Olympics. And the reason they failed? Mittelstädt was left back home, while Raum finds himself warming the bench, both for one important reason: Nathaniel Brown. The 22-year-old continued his electric form from Eintracht Frankfurt by scoring and assisting in his World Cup debut. Olympics. Think about that. A 22-year-old kid, in his first ever World Cup game, plays so well that he justifies his manager benching 2 established international fullbacks. Brown scored in the 68th minute to push the advantage to 5-1. CBC. A goal and an assist on your World Cup debut at left-back for one of the favourites to win the entire tournament. That's the kind of performance that launches a career into the stratosphere. The super sub who ran the show. And then came the substitute, who turned a comfortable win into a statement. Deniz Undav came off the bench and did something special. Deniz Undav came off the bench to score a goal and assist 2 others. A goal and 2 assists as a substitute. That is an absurd impact off the bench. Brown scored in the 68th minute to push the advantage to 5-1, and Deniz Undav added a goal in the 78th after assisting on Brown's goal minutes earlier. Then Havertz wrapped up his brace in the 88th minute to complete the 7-1 rout, with Joshua Kimmich grabbing 2 assists of his own to cap a performance where seemingly everyone in a white shirt got involved in the goals. When your bench players are putting up a goal and 2 assists, when your fullback is scoring on debut, when the goals are spread across attackers, midfielders and defenders alike, that's not just a good day, that's a warning shot to every other contender in the tournament. How close was the all-time record? Here's a fun piece of context that shows just how brutal this could have been. Germany scored 7. But the World Cup record for goals in a single match is even more absurd. The margin of victory comes well short of the World Cup record of 9 goals, which has happened 3 times, with the last one coming when Hungary beat El Salvador 10-1 in 1982. CBC. So as savage as 7-1 was, we've actually seen worse at a World Cup. But the fact that we're even mentioning Germany's win in the same breath as the most lopsided results in tournament history tells you everything about the gulf in class on display in Houston. And there's another record Germany now owns. Germany have won their opening game of a World Cup by at least 3 goals for an 8th time, 3 more than the nation with the next most, France, with 5. Nobody starts World Cups with statement victories quite like the Germans. Wikipedia. What this actually means for Germany. Now let's get serious for a second and talk about what this result actually tells us, because it's not as simple as Germany are unstoppable. Yes, 7-1 is dominant. Yes, breaking Brazil's record is historic. But let's be honest about the opponent. Curaçao are World Cup debutants, a tiny nation with a fraction of the resources, depth and quality of a German side stacked with players from Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and the best clubs in Europe. Beating them 7-1 was expected. The real tests are still to come. But there was one genuinely concerning moment that German fans cannot ignore. That 21st-minute equaliser came from, in the words of one analysis, a complacent, sloppy German defence. Against Curaçao, that sloppiness cost them a goal that didn't matter. Against a France, a Spain, or an Argentina, that same defensive lapse could cost them the game. Olympics Germany's manager Julian Nagelsmann knows this. The win was emphatic, but the brief wobble after Curaçao equalised is exactly the kind of thing that gets punished at the business end of a World Cup. Still, the mood in the German camp was understandably confident. As one German player put it after the match, "We have to show them that we can perform, and we have to have the confidence. I think we're in a better spot than we were entering this match." CBC. What's next? The road doesn't get any easier from here. Germany tangle with the Ivory Coast on Saturday in Toronto, a few hours before Curaçao match wits with Ecuador in Kansas City. Flash score. For Germany, the Ivory Coast represents a genuine step up in quality and a real measure of where this team actually stands. For Curaçao, the Ecuador game is another chance to make history, another opportunity for that tiny island to roar on the world's biggest stage. The real story. So let's zoom out and talk about what this game was really about. On the surface, it's a 7-1 thrashing, a big team crushing a small team, the kind of result that's easy to forget, but dig deeper, and it's so much more. It's Germany overtaking Brazil's most prestigious World Cup record on the very same weekend that Brazil stumbled against Morocco. It's a 22-year-old debutant left-back announcing himself to the world. It's a super sub putting up a goal and 2 assists. It's the 4-time champions sending a statement to the rest of the tournament. And most beautifully of all, it's a tiny Caribbean island of 150,000 people scoring their first ever World Cup goal against one of the greatest teams on earth, and an entire nation feeling, for one glorious moment, like they were on top of the world. Curaçao footballing history has commencered. That goal will be replayed on that island for generations. The 7-1 scoreline will fade. The history they made will not. Olympics. That's the World Cup. Giants and underdogs, records and heartbreak, all crammed into 90 unforgettable minutes. Germany got their statement. Curaçao got their moment. And football, as always, got another story for the ages. If you want the full breakdown of every massive result, every shock, and every record that falls at this World Cup, hit subscribe right now. We're covering it all, deeper and more honestly than anywhere else. Drop a comment below. Was Germany's 7-1 a genuine statement, or just an easy win over weak opponents? And how far does this German team actually go? I read every single comment. This is the World Cup breakdown. I'll see you in the next one.